Welcome to the Alyssa and Julian Podcast.
I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Julian. And this is
the Alyssa and Julian Podcast.
Episode 2,
I was just
man.
gonna say that.
We survived episode 1. You guys were amazing supporters.
So you have to let us know how you enjoyed episode 1.
Yeah, you guys were amazing. Even in the comments, like I read through some of them quickly and I was like, wow, you guys are awesome. So episode 2's here.
Oh, episode 2 is here.
I do want to let you guys know you guys didn't say anything really, but it bothered me. The audio was really like iffy in the last.
It was a little something, but hopefully this is better.
Yeah.
We bought some more stuff for this to hopefully make it sound better. You'll have to know. You have to let us know what you think.
We spent a good amount of money on this Rodecaster Pro. I found it on Facebook Marketplace. If you guys want to see our setup tour, I think if all goes well, our setup and our studio tour should be up right now for the podcast
if
on
all
my
goes
channel.
Well.
Yeah, just in terms of editing and stuff, because I set these high expectations for myself and then I fall off so high sometimes. But we'll see how I do because I got to edit this podcast plus that video, so we'll see how we do. But yeah.
Well, before we get into the intentions for the week, we're just going to put out there that if you're not watching this on YouTube, we are on other streaming platforms.
Yes,
we are
definitely.
on Spotify, Amazon Music, and what is it? Apple Podcast?
And a lot more.
Well, at least those 3.
The major ones were on, but there's a lot more that we went on, man. Like I went crazy. Like there was a list of them and I just put us on all of them. So
those are actually
check it out.
The popular ones.
Right.
What else could you stream on? Podcast.
Google Podcast. There's a ton, man. And if you hear our neighbor's dog in the background, I'm gonna try to edit that out, but I'm so sorry.
But anyways, if you want to look us up, all you have to look up is Alyssa and Julian Podcast.
We come right up, man.
Basic. It's
Literally,
right there for you.
I'm gonna tell you how easy it is. I walked my grandmother through how to look it up over the phone.
On the phone.
And she didn't even have the Apple Podcast app downloaded, man. And I walked her through it.
He did better than me because he figured it out that she didn't have it downloaded, and I would not have guessed that. I would have been so confused. So
it was actually really
props
funny.
to you, but anyways. So intentions for the week. You want to go first?
Yeah, I think my intentions for the week, I will say I did all right with my last one, so I kind of want to continue and bring it back and just put myself, in a balanced mindset of trying to balance this work-life balance with being a dad as well. That's kind of where I'm headed. I also, as I just said before, I want to get this podcast up and I want to get my setup tour uploaded. Plus I have a ton of videos. You know what I think? I think I want to do a batch record next week. That's going to be my ultimate goal. I want to batch record 3 videos that I've had on my brain forever. It's time I just released them in the world.
Just pick a day and be like, we're not doing anything. We're not leaving the house until this gets done.
My guy Moaz on Twitter, man. I don't know if you guys follow him, but he literally was like, he put a post up. He was like, what's your subscriber count now? So I replied. He was like, oh yeah, you got 10K easy by the end of the summer. Bro, that's been motivating me so hard. So that's my goal. I got to get these videos
crazy. Oh my God.
out of my head.
If you get
video form.
Even I don't want to say if you hit that because I don't want you to be upset if you don't. If we get close, we're literally throwing a party.
You're right. I have to at that point, guys. So go sub to my channel. I've been putting a lot of work in over there.
1 sub equals 1 invite to the party. No.
Literally, right? Like Eric be doing with his stuff, man. 1 invite to the pizza party.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm kind of almost maybe on the same page as you. I have mine as getting back into being a YouTuber. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, you wouldn't have seen that I literally tweeted yesterday. Julian sat home and was like, I'm bored. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to do all this stuff. I wish I had a video to edit. He literally edited 2 videos that I had. One was partial started because it was a sit-down video. You guys will hopefully see it soon. I actually wanted to put it up today. I kind of forgot. It was partially edited, but it was just so much that I kind of walked away from it and never went back. So he finished it. We looked over it yesterday. We added effects, all this stuff. Then we had another one that I had sitting at least on the computer. I don't think I started that one, but he was like, I want another video. And I was like, well, that one's sitting there if you want to do it. So he actually jumped into it. I was like, not for you to be put into doing my work, but if that's what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, I mean, her video was really hard to edit. It took a while, but it was worth it in the end because it was such a great video that I was like, yo, this has to get out there. So I sat there and edited the whole thing. I was like, yo, I'm doing this whole thing. And then I still felt like being a YouTuber. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do another one. Why not?
Well, he was like, I wish I had a video. And I was like, well, I have another one, but I don't know if you want to sit here and keep doing mine.
Yeah. And then because my mind, the way my brain works, man, I didn't know what to do. I had so much on my brain that I wanted to do. And literally, we're going to get into this a little more later on, but there's so much on my mind that I want to do. And when I get like that, I kind of get complacent because I'm like, there's so much to do. I don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to edit her videos. So I looked at JJ. I was like, you want to edit mommy's video with me? And then I just started doing it.
Literally, he set up the pack and play and had him in the background. Because, like, normally, like, we don't really have... We have a swing downstairs and, like, the bassinet in our room. But besides that, he just has, like, one little mat that I don't know, sometimes he likes it, sometimes he doesn't. So it kind of just depends on the day. But he set up the pack and play. He looked like he liked it. I was at work, so he sent me some videos. But he looked like he was enjoying it. So put him in there. When he gets a little older, he'll have, like, some toys and stuff. He'll keep himself occupied.
I was laughing at myself, kind of, just because I would look down at him, and I was like, dude, when you're able to stand, you're going to be, like, standing on the edge of that thing.
Yeah,
like,
he'll be, like, poking his head over, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, right. So that's going to be fun. I don't know. I thought about that and kind of laughed to myself.
It's so weird because, like, there's stuff like that where I think about it and I'm like, dude, I can't wait for those days, but those days are going to come and I'm like, dang it. Like,
yeah.
Go back to being small.
Go back to being
he's
cute.
He's gonna hit that age where he just asks like a million questions, like why or what or something, and I'm like, I liked it better when he didn't talk, like didn't have to say anything.
It's funny because even now, like, there's some things he does. I was like, dude, I remember like a few weeks ago, I was putting you in like a little swaddle in the hospital, and like
literally
here you are now, like too big for it. All right.
I was just saying yesterday that you miss swaddling him.
I literally do. I can't. I could do this all day because there's so many things about him, man. I'm like, yo. I miss it already. All
right. Well, I guess we'll jump into today's topic. It is kind of a deeper one. We are going to episode 2, we're jumping into some deep conversations. The topic we had chose for today's was anxiety, kind of where anxiety comes from. Probably talk about like how you deal with it, how it comes up. All that type of stuff.
Let me get up and close and personal for this one.
Oh, you could erase these?
Yeah, I'm going to get up.
That literally can change the game.
I'm going to get up close and personal for this one with you guys.
How'd you do that?
There's a knob right there in the middle. You just unscrew it. But like, I have like weird anxiety, man. Like, I feel like I have anxiety that's not severe, but then I do have some anxiety moments that like are severe. Like, I'll say this, like, I have anxiety in terms of pressure I put on myself. Like, I put immense pressure on myself nonstop. Like, 24/7, there's just something that I'm like, yo, I got to get this done right away, right now. And sometimes it's not healthy, but
sometimes.
you know what they say, man. Pressure
9 times out of 10.
Pressure makes diamonds or burst pipes, and I'm 90% of times making a diamond out of it.
Never heard that.
You never heard that?
I've never heard that.
Yeah, pressure either makes diamonds or bursts pipes. Like I said, I do pretty good for the most part. Most times I'm a diamond, but there are times where my pipes erupt. And that time's bad. But in terms of that style of anxiety, that one's not so bad. Sometimes it gets me and catches me off guard because I get really like anxious during that time. But at least to my other anxiety that I have that's really bad, I'm going to kind of tell a brief story about it. Like years ago, before I even met Alyssa, really, I had a lung collapse, like a partial lung collapse. The medical diagnosis is pneumothorax, which is a partially collapsed lung. So I want to say 20% of my lung was collapsed. So for my medical heads out there, basically, if I was sitting still, relaxing, my oxygen would be at like a 95, 96. Cool average, right?
Mm-hmm.
Minute I start walking, drop down to like 70. So that's like incubating levels. Like that's, yeah. So that always scares me because I never really knew how to like explain it to people. I literally had to go to like therapy for a while. And even there, like I didn't really know how to explain it. Cause she, we went back in like family history and how I grew up and things like that. But I think I finally know the words for it. I think this was the first time that I actually saw my body fail on me without any warning.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like there was
That's
no
scary.
warning. Right. There was no warning, nothing like that. And my body just failed on me. I didn't do anything to cause it. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't live any different than I normally do in my day-to-day life. And
oh my God,
my body just failed on me. So when you put it like that, stuff like that can happen at any moment. Mm-hmm. And that leads to my anxiety. I got diagnosed with PTSD from it, but like I gotten a lot better, I will say. But a lot of times I have to talk myself down because when I put those like different pressures on me, I'll get tired, I'll get a headache, things will go wrong. And then next thing you know, I'm over here like, yo, I'm about to die. Like I jump straight to that. Like there's no in between for me.
It just goes straight
there.
Yeah,
my brain is just automatically like, yo, my head hurts, I'm about to die. And that's bad because obviously like there's normal headaches out there. There are bad headaches that could be more serious. There's bad stomach aches out there. There's bad everything. But I tell you, like the minute I feel something crazy in my body that I can't explain, I'm about to die.
Freaks you out.
Yes.
And you jumped like the worst possible like conclusion for it.
And it's crazy, but like, especially because like, not to get too religious, but like I'm a Christian. So like having a fear of death is not supposed to be a thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm not supposed to be afraid. And I feel like there's healthy fear in it. Because like, I feel like telling someone to be unafraid of death is just unrealistic. And here's what I'll compare it to. Do you tell someone they shouldn't be afraid to start that new job? Do you tell someone they shouldn't be afraid to spend, the money on that new car? Do you tell someone that they shouldn't be afraid to start that new relationship? It's the fear of the unknown. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
that's deep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like my anxiety goes a little deep because yes, I have my Christian background that says, death is a good thing. Death is really should be rejoiced, not, like, I guess, renowned or, not renowned. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say feared. It's more of like you shouldn't be grieving death. You should be celebrating death. So on one hand, like, yes, like I feel that way. But on the other hand, it is still that fear of the unknown. Like, what's next? You know what I mean? And again, that's where I try to get in the Bible more and I try to read more. Because if you read more, it's not really an unknown anymore. But it's just hard because as much as like you read, you do everything, there's still going to be that little ounce that's like, really? You know what I mean? Like that's what's going to happen, really, and because again, back to the practical sense, it's like same thing. Someone could tell you this job is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. Or I'll take it even bigger than that. Last year, this time I left my job. If you would have told me that like I'd be doing as well as I am with it, I'd be like, really? Because like,
yeah, you kind of have a little bit of doubt in the back of your mind.
It's going well, but like I wouldn't have expected it to be this good. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I compare it to that because it's like, there's just, it's an unknown. You have no type of, way of knowing how it's going to go and what's going to happen. Because you haven't been there.
That gets scary. Like just the thought of not knowing what's going to happen can like literally freak someone out so bad. And like that can just cause.
Literally. I mean, so coping methods, let's get into coping methods because I'm sure somebody out there kind of can relate. Because the other issue I have, before I get into coping methods, I will say this too. I'm a very bad hypochondriac. Very bad. Like if someone around me is sick with something, I start to feel it. I start to like...
You'll be perfectly fine, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute.
Like, my grandmother got COVID. I took a COVID test a few days later. Like, perfect example. Like, it's just that. And honestly, I don't even think it's really possible for me to get COVID because we just had it in January.
I would say we already had COVID months ago, but you're supposed to have like
6 months of it.
Yeah, say that time period before I guess you can get it again if you happen to.
Yeah. So and here I was taking the test. So like stuff like that plagues me. A lot of that has to do with like growing up too. Like something I never really like said is I was around death a lot. Like a lot. My grandfather was a pastor. So like
I feel like as sad as that is, like that can definitely like that's definitely what contributes to.
Well, that's the thing because
jumping to the worst case scenario.
Literally, I couldn't like. Have you ever heard the term PK?
No.
It means like pastor's kid. I consider myself to be a pastor's kid only because my father wasn't around, so I was with my grandfather a lot. Like all these church events, I was at. Mm-hmm. All of these funerals, I was at. Like when I tell you there was literally always someone's funeral I had to go to. Not to mention when I was sweeping around the funeral home.
Oh my God, I could not imagine that. You told me that before, and like I literally just can't get that through my head.
Yeah, and then literally one time when I worked at the hospital, we were doing like an outdoor event. I was delivering hot dogs. I accidentally went to the morgue instead of like outside.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was fun. I went down with the hot dogs to the morgue. But it's fine. It's fine.
No.
It's like, hey, you guys want any hot dogs? Like,
Stop!
it was bad, dude. It was uncomfortable. So, yeah. All right, back to coping methods, though.
Yes, please.
Coping methods for that would probably be just to, be real with yourself. Like, someone told me this a while ago, and it was just like, what, you got to ask yourself, like, what if? Like, so what? What if I die right now? You know what I mean? Like, if that's the worst case scenario, like, what if? Right? Like,
that's like
you're supposed to live every day as if tomorrow's not promised. So, like, I feel like I've done a lot of good. So I should be fine with knowing that if, God forbid, something happened to me tomorrow, I would be okay.
That's why people are like, you can't live your life in fear. Like, with the way the world is right now, between everything that's been going on, everything you hear in the news, like, people at first were scared to like go to grocery stores when COVID was like a really big thing when it first came out. Like, it's so sad, but you really can't live your life in fear because then I feel like you're not really living your life. Like I don't want to say like wasting, but like you could be doing so much. Like, yeah, COVID was a thing and like it was huge, but I don't know, like you could have been out there doing something. Like if you social distance, like people said, like you can still have fun doing something. Yeah, like literally. You can still be doing something, period.
And honestly, as long as you're vaccinated up and you got all your shots, man, like even COVID isn't as scary as it was.
It's not as bad. Yeah, we had the 2 shots. We didn't have boosters, but we had the 2 shots. It's so hard for me to actually like, not that like our topic was COVID, but it's so hard for me to try to like talk about COVID because I was pregnant when I had COVID. So some of the symptoms was literally like the same thing I was getting from being pregnant. So like body aches.
It's scary.
All that stuff. So I'm just like, oh.
It's scary because the COVID we had wasn't even like the worst of it. And I'll tell you, I haven't really been the same since I had COVID in a sense of like being able to stay up late, being able to work late, being able to have a lot of stamina. I'm kind of getting back to it. But my stamina was compromised for a long time.
We'll just put out there that it's been like almost 6 months.
No, it's been 6 months now. It's been exactly because we went to the Knicks game like January 9th. Because it was right around my mom's birthday.
We did?
I'm pretty sure we went around January 9th or 10th.
Oh, something like that. I forget.
It's been a 6 months. I almost said a year. It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months now at this point.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so.
But anyways.
Yeah, but. Coping, yeah, it is way off topic, but that's what a podcast is for, man. Coping methods, like I said, though, just kind of tell yourself, I guess, what's the worst that can happen, and if that were to happen, like, you will be fine. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, this life is over, but this life is nothing. You know what I mean? So, and that's where the spiritual side of it comes in. This life is just, we're here to, we're not. This isn't our forever. We're here. Accomplish what we're here to do, and then we get out of here, man.
Yeah.
As scary as that is, it's just, again, it's the fear. It's the fear of the unknown, man. That
sentence within itself just sounds scary to me. Like, if you say like the fear of the unknown, you're like, wait, what? Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it because like I never thought I was someone with anxiety. I feel like when I was pregnant, I don't want to say like, oh, I got it then. Like, I feel like I was really more of an anxious person because it was new to me. Like pregnancy wise was new to me. I've never been pregnant before. This is my first child. So it's like something that happens. You're like, whoa, like, is that supposed to happen? Like, yeah. At first, because people were trying to tell me like what it felt like when the baby would first move. And like, it kind of, because people are like, oh, it's going to feel like butterflies. And like, it kind of does, but it feels like, you know when you have butterflies when you're nervous? Like, it's kind of like that, but, like, a little different. It has a little twist. I don't know, something to it. So when I felt it, like, I was like, whoa, what was that? But then after a while, I was like, oh, like, that's him. Like, at first, like, I wasn't like, that's him because I didn't know what he was. Yeah. But I was like, oh, like, that's the baby. So, like, you feel it. And, like, once you start feeling it more and more, like, you kind of get used to it. But between that and then I got really bad heartburn sometimes. So like my chest was killing me and I was like, oh my God. So like it kind of freaked me out, got me really anxious. There was a time when we went to a doctor's appointment for his gender reveal and I ended up passing out. So now like after that, especially like I still had, that was November and I was due in March. So I still had like 4 or 5 months left of pregnancy. So every time I felt a little type of way or something, I was scared it was going to happen again. So then I'm getting like really anxious because I'm like, oh, I need to eat, or oh, I need to drink something and I'll be all right. Like I need water. Like I need to just snack on something, sit down for like 10 minutes because I don't know. So like, I don't want to be like, oh, like pregnancy gave me anxiety, but like I felt like I was more of an anxious person than I normally was.
I hear that.
So it was like, I don't know. It was so weird. Like there was little things where you're just like, oh, hold on.
I'll tell you this. What I noticed, it's so weird because I kind of learned a little bit more about myself with you being pregnant. Because really? Like hypochondriac me would have like been like, oh God, am I about to pass out? Am I about to pass out?
See, I felt the same way because people would always be like even if I didn't feel sick or like I'm going to pass out, once someone is like, hey, you look a little pale, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. Like it's going to happen. Like you told me that, now I'm like freaking myself out because in my head I'm like, oh my God, like, wait, I do feel dizzy when really like I didn't. Like I was perfectly fine, but someone's just like, you look a little sick. And I'm like, oh my God, I am. Like really, I was not.
For me though, it was easy because like instead of like assuming like, oh, I'm going to pass out, I would just be like, oh, she's pregnant. That makes sense. You know what I mean? So that's something I guess as a coping method too is for me, I need to find reasons that this stuff happens to people. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, like if people my age die, like it sucks. I don't feel okay unless I know like what happened.
The reasoning behind it.
Yeah. And it's the anxiety of it for me. It's so weird.
When they post about that stuff, sometimes they don't have the reasoning. No. Like they don't have like, oh, they did an autopsy and this happened.
Like,
so
I feel so bad
just thinking the worst.
It sucks because I almost feel bad that I have to do that. You know what I mean? Like I feel bad that like this person died and I'm like, yo, how did it happen? How did it happen?
I need to know.
Oh God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it's sometimes sad, I have to like read it and like literally, especially if they're close to my age. Like if they're a little older, like and they're not relatable to me, I'm like, yo, like what happened? Especially like don't let it be something with the brain, bro. The brain scares me so much. You guys don't understand. The brain is crazy. Like, because like the people who are experts on the brain don't even understand the brain. That's what is that's crazy. Really scary. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People who are experts on the brain don't understand it. I feel like no one
will really actually know like how it fully functions almost.
They say we only use 30% of our brain.
It's insane.
30%.
So people really only will know 30, maybe 40.
It's insane. Because it's scary, bro.
That's crazy. I feel like another big thing that people, I don't know if you'd say like go through, have, I don't know. I feel like, I don't even know how to word it, but one of the big things I feel like you hear all the time is social anxiety.
So that one, I can't relate to as much.
I feel like I can.
Yeah, you probably could relate to that better than me. I'm weird. I used to feel like I had social anxiety, but then I became a cashier, and like literally life changed for me once I became a cashier. Because I tell people this all the time, like that was the best job for me at the time because I kind of realized that people are people, and I don't need to be worried about people, and kind of like just talking and approaching people because everyone's just kind of walking their own path and doing their own thing. As weird as that sound, but a cashier job taught me that.
It's so weird because like I don't work as a cashier, but I still work in a grocery store. Like you work in retail. I should have the experience of just like talking to people, having to approach people, but it still freaks me out. Like I'm 25 years old, turning 26 years old, and now I have a child, so I'm going to be having to do this more. I hate having to make a phone call. It stresses me out. It freaks me out. It scares me. I hate having to make a phone call.
Can I tell you a story?
Even like literally, even if I have to call like my family, like I can't. Like I hate being on the phone.
Can I tell you a story?
What?
So I think I got introduced to phone calls really early, so that's the difference. Like my mom used to work like all day in the hospital, so she'd work like 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. or something crazy like that. She'd come home, or I'd come home from school or something, and the lights would be out. Like she'd be like, "Oh, I forgot to pay the light bill," or whatever. I would have to sit and talk to the UI people, pretend to be her, to get them to let me turn.
Did you like have a higher pitched voice? I
had to because if I didn't,
he's sitting there like, "Ha!"
If I didn't, because the time she would get out of work, if I didn't, we wouldn't have lights that night.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like I had to sit there and pretend to be her. I had her checkbook right there, and I'm 10 years old. I had her checkbook right there. I literally would call, make arrangements to pay it, and then have my grandfather drive me down to like the corner store to pay it.
Oh my god.
The little agency store to pay it.
Imagine Julian trying to have like a female voice.
Yeah, I had to.
That's
like,
so
hi,
fun.
My name's...
Yeah, that's so funny.
I had to, but that's what I'm saying. So I think that's different. That's kind of why I don't have that one so much, because I feel like a lot of people in our generation, I know people older than you that have that fear against calling people.
That's going to be me. Like my kid's going to have kids and I'm still going to be like, yeah, no, I can't call you. Sorry. Because like, I don't know, like I have super weird... My mom would like literally always make the phone calls for me. Like she got to the point that she was like, "Oh, you're old enough. You can call the doctors or you can do this." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm not going because I'm not making the phone call. Like I can't do it." I don't know. It's so weird. Like I would always hate going anywhere by myself too. I don't know what that is. I hated like if I just had to run to CVS, like I'd barge into my brother's room and be like, "So who's going with me?" I would sometimes have to bribe them, being like saying, "Oh, I'll get you this if we go here." Like, oh, because where I used to live, it was like CVS and Dunkin' was in the same plaza, or McDonald's was like right next to it. So I'd be like, "You want McDonald's? Like, you want like a smoothie? You want food? I'll get you McDonald's if you just run to CVS with me." Like, I'm not going by myself, but like I need to go.
Hiring help, man.
Literally, it's so bad that I don't know why. Like, like just thinking about it stresses me out, but.
It sucks though. I mean, you won't really have to go anywhere by yourself now because you have a baby with you. But
honestly, it's felt different. Like he can't talk or do anything. Like he just sits in the car seat, and I either carry him or have him on the top of the cart, like not a stroller, but like the shopping cart or something. Mm-hmm. And just having him with me, like it's someone to talk to, even if I'm just like, oh, or like making faces.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels different. Like I have someone with me. I don't know. It's so weird, but like it's better than me just walking into a spot and I'm just like, because I'm by myself.
Yeah, I don't really have that one. I literally went to the movie theater by myself.
Oh no, I would never.
I went to see Doctor Strange by myself the day it came out. I'd be
impressed if I walked into a movie theater by myself, but if I sat down, I think I'd have to leave before the movie even started because I'd be like, nope. I'd be that one person like in the back corner by myself, being like.
I think I sat dead smack in the middle.
Oh, no, definitely would not be me.
I did sit by the aisle, but I sat in the middle. Just because, like, it was so small, and I was like, I'll just sit by the aisle. You want
to at least be able to see the movie, I guess.
Yeah. So I was like, I'll sit by the aisle, like, if I got to get up, get popcorn, use the bathroom or something.
No. I feel like my thing is also, I get nervous. Okay, so especially if, like I said, I'm by myself. I hate going to new places. If I've never been there before, I'm definitely not going by myself. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know. I'd rather go somewhere that, like, I'm comfortable with. I know I've been here, so I know kind of how to maneuver around it, or so, I don't know. If it's somewhere new, I don't think I could do it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you want to call that. I don't know if you want to put a title on it. That's me. And like I said, we're going on 26 years old this year. Like,
all right. So
that's kind of got to be thrown out the window, but it can't.
we're going to do something this year. Oh, God. I'm going to book you a hotel room in New York City. And you're going to go by yourself to New York City to a hotel.
God. Okay, just thinking about the train itself stresses me out because I don't know. I would be so
I knew
lost.
we weren't doing that. I'm not doing that. It's not. I mean, the city's not bad, but like.
I feel like the train is the only thing that freaks me out. If I was
you think
I'm going to drive in New York City?
All right, we'll do Boston.
I feel like I'd rather take the train, but just, I don't know, like the thought of sitting on the train by myself scares me, and it's like an hour train ride for us, between like hour and a half. I feel like once I got into the city, it wouldn't be so bad, because like, do you know how many people go to the city by themselves all the time?
I've done it multiple times.
I feel like if I was in the city, it wouldn't be as bad, and like, obviously sitting in the hotel room by myself, once I got into the hotel room, I feel like I would have like such peace over my body, like everything would just be like, whew. But it's just the train ride. So the train ride itself kind of freaks me out. Part of me wants, you kind of got it, like you've mentioned this before, part of me wants to do it, to try it.
I think you should. Because I had a lot of anxiety about it the first time I did it. But after that, I've done it like 2 or 3 times by myself after that.
I don't know. Maybe we will try it. Maybe we'll see how it goes. But the thought of it kind of freaks me out. But
I think you should do a smaller city first, something you enjoy.
It would definitely put me out of my comfort zone so much.
So that's actually my next question, though. Like, what do you think is your coping method or your way around these social anxieties? Like, these way out of them.
Sometimes, depending on the thing, like I talked about going somewhere by myself, like CVS. If sometimes I just got to push myself and be like, dude, it's CVS. Like,
yeah,
that's really nothing. I just have to go. So I've definitely done that before. It still kind of freaks me out, like walking in and out of that place. I don't know why. But something like that, I would definitely have to really push. But I don't know. I have to also think, not like pros and cons, but I just have to think, being like, why am I so scared? And being, like I said, so many people go to, especially New York City, walk around by themselves. We've gone and I've looked around and I've seen so many people just walking, put headphones in. They got no type of care in the world. They're just doing what they got to do. And I just kind of have to think like that. Like, part of me thinks that a lot of people like judge me, so to speak. So I'm walking and people are like, oh yeah, like she's by herself. Like she's walking by herself. Like, what is she doing? Like that type of weird stuff. So I have to put that completely out of my mind, because no one really cares what you're doing. Exactly. If you think about it, no one really cares. But I always like think and look around. And if I like catch someone looking at me, I'm like, oh, they're judging me. Like, oh, they're watching me. Like, it's so weird when like literally it's just you're looking around and you just happen to catch eye contact with someone.
I'll tell you this. I've gone to New York City by myself, but not only have I gone to New York City by myself, I've vlogged my trip to New York City by myself.
And that's literally another spot where so many people pull out a camera.
So
like,
I'm going to tell you this,
thing.
But that scared me so much. But it's like you said, no one really cares.
Like, someone might look at you and kind of question and be like, yo, what is he doing? Like, why is he got that camera?
It's 2 seconds.
Like that?
They look at it and like...
But they're walking, so they're going to pass you and probably forget about you like 15 minutes later because they've never seen you before.
Not even 15 minutes. You're being generous by saying 15 minutes, honestly.
It's going to be like in and out. Like,
yeah.
They're going to think about it. Next thing you know, they're going to be like, oh, look, a bird.
back to your social anxiety thing here. I'm going to expose you a little bit. Is that okay?
Oh, God. Yeah, go ahead.
But in the same question, I'm going to ask you a question at the same time. Okay. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So for those who don't know, Alyssa grew up in Sandy Hook, Connecticut.
I did.
One of the craziest school shootings of our generation.
Almost mass shootings right now.
Yes. So do you feel like that contributes to your social anxiety at all?
100%. I was actually just talking to my dad about this because I feel like ever since that happened, it hits a little like really close to home because I was homesick the day it happened and I lived right down the road from Sandy Hook. Like if you went to the bottom of my road, okay, so it was like if you're watching on YouTube, you can kind of see like where I'm putting this in perspective. If this was my house, like this was the stop sign at the end of the road and that part of the road was blocked off. Wow. So if you took my road down, you couldn't take a right because it was blocked off because of Sandy Hook.
Wow.
So that's like, I literally was at like, I was standing in my driveway because like, if you just want to go outside, but like I have literally had someone come up to me being like, oh, can you put a chair or a cone here so like I can have this space? Because it was a news reporter. And I was like, no. Like, you really going to ask me that? You want me to save you a spot for your van?
Right in the middle of all this, like.
Like, what the heck?
Not only that, but that's also not really safe if you don't know what's going on. Like,
that's what I'm saying, because in the moment that it happened, I had a car, like, you know how cars, like, will pull into a driveway and, like, back out? A car did that, but it sat in my driveway for, like, probably maybe, like, 2 minutes, but it was the longest 2 minutes in that time, because I, like, at that point, I already knew what was going on.
Because you're watching on the news.
Because oh my God, you watch it on the news, but, like, it was also the thing where some of the interviews were right outside my front door. So it's like once the news is like on commercial, you can go outside and see it happening right there. So like that's why it was so crazy. That's why it hits a little different. So that guy sitting in my driveway maybe for 2 minutes, like maybe just making like a quick phone call being like, hey,
where do I go now?
Like this is happening, or I have to take this type of detour. I don't really know the area, blah, blah, whatever, was the longest 2 minutes of my life. Because where my room was, it was right outside my window was like a roof from like a little den that we had that's over the garage. So like it was the garage then the den. So like I had the roof like right outside my window. Like if I crawled out my window, I could literally sit on the roof. So if I look out and look to the left, like I could see the driveway. So like I had my brother come in my room because I was like, dude, lock the door. Like we'll chill in my room because then you could also see like the end of the road. So like we're kind of like peeking, but not like, oh, look, like putting our head out the window, but just watching that guy. And like I said, even if it was just 2 minutes, it was the longest 2 minutes. But thinking of that and being so close to that, I think about it literally everywhere I go.
Yeah.
So I've always been a type where if I sit somewhere, especially in a restaurant, or I used to even do it in the cafeteria when I was on lunch, I have to sit in like a seat where like I can see. Like, if I sit and most of everything is behind me, like, just know I'm freaking out inside. Like, I would rather sit, like this. If I was sitting where you were sitting, there's not much I see on this side. Or, like, if I was sitting right here, like, I could see the room.
And this is your own house.
And this is my own house. So, like, I could probably sit there, but it does make me a little uncomfortable. And it's also a thing where, like, I don't know. It's just wherever I go. But, like, I think about it because now it's happened in so many spaces. Like, the Texas elementary school shooting definitely hit a little close to home for me. I don't even live in Sandy Hook anymore. But just hearing, like, elementary school shooting, like, I feel for them. I actually personally knew people, like, kids in the school. So it does, I don't know. Like, I didn't have anyone in the school, like, family-wise. But I knew people that did. And I knew people, like, I used to babysit were in the school at the time. So, like, it hits a little. So, and especially, like, you hear, oh, movie theater, oh, grocery store, like, oh, this, that. Like, once you step into those places, it definitely, like, hits my mind.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, oh, if I go here, like, where's the closest way I can get out? Like, it's sad, but, like, that's what I have to think about. And I'm like, oh, if I stand here, like, I'm close to the exit, or I could be here, but, like, let me see where the exits are. Like, I don't know. It's so bad. And then, I don't know. It makes me a little calmer if like, in those positions. Like, oh, I can see the room. Or, oh, I'm standing right next to the exit. Or, oh, I'm here, but if I do this, like, I can reach this in this little of time. Like, it's so sad that that's how my brain works right now, but that's how it works now.
I don't think I'm that bad. I think I will say ever since he's been born and I've been going out with him by myself,
that's another thing.
I pay attention more Not so much to like exits or things like that, but I notice people more. Like if you walk by me or if you walk too close to my cart, if I'm at the grocery store or you're just standing too close, I'm just like,
it gets a little scary.
What are you doing?
That's
and I'm really like anxious about that. Like sometimes like, I don't care, man. I'll move the cart. I'll move him. Like,
oh, you have to.
You could say like, oh, I'm just peeking at your baby, but like make yourself known to me. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people do that. And like, I have no problem with that, but I was just telling Melissa this, make yourself known.
People do it behind your back, which makes it look a little more like if people are in front of me and they're kind of like inching, like you kind of are basically like, here, take a look, because then I feel a little more like peaceful with it. But I like had an instance the other day where I was standing in the store and this lady was behind me and like trying to like crank her neck
like that's
and go around. So I literally was turned, like, I don't think I was fully going to turn around. I think I was just looking around, but I saw her in my peripheral vision. Like, it kind of scared me because you're like, what are you doing? Like, you can't just do that.
Yeah. Especially not today, man.
I was going to say, not in this world. Like, I don't want to put it and make it sound really bad, but literally, like, in this world now, it's really scary. Like it's really scary.
I mean, and if there's any parents watching this, like I'm sure they'll relate to that. Like
I was literally just saying to my dad, I was like, I don't know, like I don't want to say like I was scared to go to school after that. It definitely was a little different. Like we took 2 weeks or at least where we went to class, but we didn't learn anything. Like you basically just went and they didn't want to teach. So you went class to class when the bell rang, but for a solid, I want to say at least 2 weeks, we didn't do any type of schoolwork. So I wasn't like, you weren't scared to go, but it was different.
Yeah.
Our elementary school was closed. Our elementary school got knocked down. They knocked it down and rebuilt it. So it's different to think about because like other schools that happened to, you don't really hear it getting rebuilt. So that was in the talks, but they knocked it down. They rebuilt it. Our elementary school students that were there had gone to another school.
I will say this, though. Like, unfortunately, it's just the way of the world. Because I went to journalism school. Once the shooting's over, you don't hear anything about the towns or anything about the cities and the areas.
It's you know so what I mean? Bad because people, if you used to say you lived in Newtown or Sandy Hook, a lot of people would be like, where's that? The amount of times I've been like, where's that? And you have to kind of be like, oh, near Danbury or like something like that. And people are like, oh, okay. Now you say it and people are like, oh. Like, it's so bad. Like, it's not a good, like, where people are like, really? Yeah. Like, that type of thing. Like, I don't know.
Exactly what you're talking
that could literally be like a whole nother
I know exactly
episode
what you're talking
thing.
about, too.
But
like,
it's so bad because now it's like you don't want to tell people. Like, you don't want to say it because people just give you that look and you're like, don't.
See, I got it differently. I get the same thing. Not the O, but like when people ask me where I'm from, I'm like, oh, I'm from Bridgeport. They're like,
you get the, okay.
This guy's ghetto.
Yeah.
Like, no, for real,
it's so bad.
For real.
It's so bad.
And if you know me, like, that's not me at all. Like, literally not me. I mean, I have instances, moments with things, but like, I can't help where I grew up and what I've seen. Like, there's just some moments where like I do some things that might be ghetto or what you consider ghetto or cheaping out,
but it's not
things
for
like that.
you. Like it's different.
Just where
it's
I
a
grew
different
up.
world.
It's how I grew up. It's what I know. You know what I mean?
It's a different world for everyone.
Sometimes like I just go back to my roots with certain things. Alyssa will laugh at me because like I'll be broke and I'll be like, yo, I'm craving some hot dogs right now. I crave hot dogs when I'm broke. I crave ramen noodles when I'm broke. It's just how I grew up. Dang, this went a whole completely different route.
It did, but like we're still kind of on topic because talking about anxiety, when I tell you the thought of now having a child and he'll eventually have to go in school freaks me out. Like it scares me so bad. When I tell you I don't want to put him in even like I don't want to say like a preschool. What's the
daycare?
Yeah, like if I don't even want to put him in a daycare because you hear I haven't heard anything that's happened at a daycare in that type of sense, but you hear like I saw a thing on Facebook. I go on Facebook now that I'm a mom. I saw a thing on Facebook that people at a daycare had gotten arrested because they had putting drugs in the kids' stuff.
I did.
Like melatonin.
Yeah.
To put them to sleep. Like that's scary.
That is
like
scary.
he's at an age, he could be at an age though where he comes home and he doesn't know what's going on, but he also can't tell me about it.
I feel like any kid couldn't really tell you. You know what I mean? Because melatonin is one of those things where like
they're so young, it's gonna hit them.
I'm tired.
It's gonna hit them so hard. I was reading the thing. The parents were only saying they realized it because their schedule, I guess, at home was so out of whack that they were like, "What is going on?" Like times where their kid would have been sleeping, they're wide awake and
they
wired.
probably got blood tested at that point.
And they had to do something because I had to see probably something in their system. But I'm like, if you're in a daycare, you're probably at a point where, yeah, you might be able to talk, but you can't come home and tell me, like, this is what happened to me. Or, like, this happened to me.
My thing is with the daycare people, though, is like, why? And if you're at the point where you need the kids to go to sleep for you to be able to run the daycare, then you shouldn't be running a daycare.
No, facts.
You don't know what you're doing at that point. Because I can tell you right now, I like it.
It's always the owner.
I like it when my son's awake. I like it when he's hanging out with me and we're chilling. You know what I mean?
I literally came home from work yesterday and I was like, dude, I want to wake him up so bad. Like,
yeah,
but like, you don't want to wake him up because then he's just going to be cranky. But I'm like, oh, I miss you. Like, wake up.
That's the thing. And like, yes, he might be easier sometimes when he's sleeping, but there are times when he's awake that he's easier because guess what? I don't have to worry about putting him in a car seat if he's sleeping. You know what I mean? Like if he's awake, he's like, oh yeah, you know, he just goes right in, smiling, like happy.
Type of thing.
But then if he's sleeping, I'm like, dang, I gotta wake him up to put him in the car seat, so he's gonna scream because he's gonna be woken up abruptly. Like
it happened to me yesterday. I had to change his diaper, and he slept through changing his diaper. But then I was like, oh, I have to change your onesie because he got really sweaty, so the back of it was wet, and I don't like him to sit in it because I don't want it to somehow cause a rash. Like they're so young that I feel like their skin is so sensitive, gentle and sensitive right now. So I was like, I have to change your onesie. I took off his onesie, and he slept through that, and I was like, there's no way. Like there's no way. So then of course I had to put a onesie on, and that's when he woke up and got cranky, and I was like, this would have been easier if you just woke up and I put you on the changing table, but you didn't want to. If I didn't have to change his onesie, it would have been the easiest change of my life.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, at that point, if you don't know how to run a daycare with babies that are awake, why are you running a daycare? Because
at that point, you're getting it's scary to think about because that's when I start to stress or like get really anxious just the thought of sending them there because that means those people are at the point where they're getting really like overwhelmed. And that's when people could get scary because that's probably when they're doing this. Or like at that point, like if they're crying, I don't want them to get mad and like you hear people shaking them or people like hitting. Like you're at the point where you're just so mad and like built up like I don't even know what inside of you that you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, what do they call it? That's not the word for it.
I couldn't think of it. That's why I didn't say
it. It's adrenaline, I guess.
It probably is.
But yeah.
And then you do that or you're shaking them to get them to stop crying because you're just like, stop.
I'll tell you, I love what I do for that reason because he doesn't have to go anywhere.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. People are like, oh, are you going to put him in daycare? You'll both be working. And I'm like, nope, he's going to go right with Julian. Like it might not be the easiest sometimes. Luckily, he's a really easy baby. So it has been
fairly easy.
It's been easier than probably expected, but even if it wasn't, I'd be like, sorry, but we're going to have to make it work because, I mean, not only is daycare expensive, but just the thought of that actually overrules, like, expensive to me.
Yeah.
Like, definitely. I think of that stuff 110%. Overpriced right now, and it's so bad because a lot of people just be like, oh, it's expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but these people are also, like, crazy. Like, they could be insane, and that scares me.
I'll tell you right now, if it were a case where we had to put him in daycare, we would find a way to put him in daycare. It's not about the money. It's more so just about the comfortability factor of it.
I feel like it's not even that because if I think about money, I'm just like, wow, like that would kind of stress me out. But it just overrules because that's just the world we're in right now.
Yeah.
So it's really bad because if we were putting him in daycare, I can tell you, I'd probably be at work like freaking out.
Yeah.
Like I'd probably be so distracted at some points because I'd be like, dude, and I'd be getting him home. And still be kind of scared, being like, are you good?
You'd be checking him for marks and making sure he's sleeping
stuff
normally.
Could be happening and he won't know or tell me. And like next thing you know, like you see this pop up on his body, like a little bruise or a little scratch. And you're just like, wait, what? Like, because then having to bring him back, oh my God, I'd be freaking out so bad.
The next day, yeah, right. Yeah, like, or what? I forgot. Somebody said some kid bit their kid or something like that. So, like,
but they don't come home and say anything. And the next thing you know, if I saw teeth marks on my child, Oh boy.
And babies bite hard, so like they wouldn't know the difference. Like, yeah, all right, you're right. Anxiety is from having a kid.
Like,
90% of it is from having a kid.
I'm telling you, I don't want to say like, oh, especially like starting with pregnancy, it gave me anxiety, but I can tell you I'm much more of an anxious person. And the thought of this and even going into like that whole thing, it definitely goes through my mind every day. And then especially when I'm with him by myself, like if I'm with you, like I don't like I still think about it, but it's a little more comfort. If I'm just with him, I'm terrified. Not terrified, but like it'll definitely freak me out a little more because I'm like, dude, if something happens, like this is on me. Yeah. Like I'm the only one here.
Yeah. Like, that makes sense though. That makes sense. I mean, I feel that way too sometimes.
It's really scary, but that does definitely have an effect on like basically mental thoughts right now. Like all that stuff definitely hits my mind.
Now, how do you cope with that though?
I don't even know. Like that's actually something really hard to like cope with because you have a lot of instances where people, I don't want to say use it, but you have a lot of people that like, I'll put you on blast now. Julian had an instance the other night where he was in the grocery store and this dude was basically against everything that happened. He was this whole thing is fake. This whole thing is fake. It didn't happen, blah, blah, blah. When Sandy Hook first happened, too, they were using someone's sister in what happened, saying she was here for this. Oh, she was here for that. Like, she was here for this shooting. She was here for this. I forget what it was. So they were like, oh, it has to be fake. She's just being placed in these things. Sandy Hook was fraud. Like, it didn't actually happen. And that's what this dude was saying. If you go there, like, they're still, I don't know, like, basically living life like it didn't happen. And I'm like, it's hitting me. Like, that makes me mad. But imagine, like, being a parent to one of the kids that had died, or, like, a sister, or, like, a brother, or, like, some type of relative. That hits a whole new nerve. It
just was very disrespectful, guys. So make sure you're just always like keeping respect first. You know what I mean?
You're in a world where people are using that like, oh, they're just using this as an excuse to get attention, or this, I don't know. I don't want to say like, oh, this town wants to be known, but like Sandy Hook is a small town. And now like all the eyes are on it. Like people are like, yeah, it didn't actually happen though. Like, why would a town like play something like that? Like that just doesn't happen like that. But people are using that.
It also gets so political, man. Like
that's what I'm saying. So people are using that in this world, which just makes you scared to be around them because then you don't know what they're gonna do. Because I feel like they can twist it, and like if they're thinking that, you don't know how their mental state is.
Right, and what they're gonna justify.
It could. Yeah. So that just gives you
so much
kind of like an anxious feeling because you're like, oh, just get me out of here, get me away from them. Like, yeah, that's just how it is. If something so minor happens, it changes the game.
And honestly, like people who used to talk like that didn't bother me until I got to really know Alyssa and like seeing how it affected her. And now I'm like, dude, like that's not cool. Like people's lives were changed forever. So like I said, just stay respectful. Keep that stuff in mind when you just kind of talk and without thinking, you know what I mean? Think first. Always think first. Mm-hmm. And I always say, like, lead with respect and everything else will follow, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, respect is number one for me. If you respect me, I respect you. We can talk about anything, have any type of discussion, and come to a mutual understanding. But in that conversation, there has to be respect. Even if you disagree with me, you could disagree with me on anything. But as long as there's respect in there, then we're good. You look like you're still thinking about it.
I'm like thinking because I'm like, wow, like I feel like we got totally off topic, but at the same time, if you think about it, like it's definitely still on topic. Yeah. So it's so weird to
it fits in with the times, man. Like, because a lot of anxiety for not just us, but a lot of people out there is about going out today, not knowing how things will go. Because I'll go back to something that gives me anxiety, guys. Like, again, not to get political, but like just being Black in America, man. And like having a Black son in America, like that stuff is real. And, you know, there's people who are like, oh, you're full of it. Like, this, that, and third. If
but
I
then
told
you
you,
still see that stuff in the news too. It's
but if
wild.
and not even just that though, I'm gonna break it down even deeper. If I told you the type of stuff my mom had to train me for and prepare me for in life, knowing that I was growing up a black man in America, you'd be like, wow, you learned that? You had to know that?
That's sad.
Like,
that's so sad that you had to like learn how to live almost.
I went to school. I was a senior in high school, and they were talking about, oh, if you ever got arrested and brought into a confession room, you need to say before anything, I need a lawyer. I was like, y'all didn't know that? You know what I mean? I'm just sitting here. I'm like, y'all didn't know that? Like what? Just for context, I moved schools. I went to a different area for my senior year of high school. So when they were teaching that in that school, I was like, you just now hearing this? Y'all ain't never heard this before?
But for some people are probably like, wait, really?
Yeah,
why?
Yeah, I'm
for
like,
what
you mean you didn't know this? Like, that's common. Because to me, that's common sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to others, they're like, wait, they could hold you all day if you don't say that? They could keep you from having food, drink. Like, I was like, yeah, what do you mean? You know what I mean? But it's stuff like that that's different, that does cause anxiety, that you have to almost go through life and try not to think about it too much. But there are situations that come up that I'm hypersensitive to because I'm like, oh, what angle are you coming at me from? You know what I mean? And I almost have to try to evaluate people's intentions when they come at me and what angle they're coming at me from, just to kind of see what they're saying. Because I'll go back to working in a grocery store. Working in a grocery store, or even when I worked for the cell phone store, there was a lot of like just people who they have their own opinions, but their opinions are so like just far out there sometimes, and they don't care about anyone else. They think they're right. Their opinion is the only opinion that matters. And honestly, they could care less about anyone else who disagrees. And I say that because that could get dangerous with some of the opinions that are actually out there. So you just got to be careful. And again, back to respect. Respect me. I respect you. We're good. You know what I mean? You don't have to like me. I don't care if you like me. Like literally, there's so many people. I'm not for everybody. I know I'm not for everybody. Because I'm different, you know?
That goes back to my whole, I have to kind of get over it. Like, no one cares, like, what you're doing. That's where I think, like, no one really cares that I'm going to be walking here alone or that I need to shop here. Like,
but see, that's where you got to be careful, though.
Things.
That's where you do have to be careful, though, because there are people out there who do care that you're walking out there.
Okay, yeah,
there are people
true.
that are looking for you to be alone.
That's where I would be like, whoa, maybe I won't do this.
But even like after I said, I was like, well, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Like, I feel like I also watch too many like criminal crime shows that pops in my head too and just freaks me out. Dude, so if I didn't watch like CSI Miami or like especially Criminal Minds gets me so bad. Like, I don't know. I used to actually get to a point where like if I got too late into the night and watched it, like I would be terrified. I'd be so scared. So
I watch a lot of horror movies. So like, I'm not horror movies. I watch a lot of action movies. So like things you wouldn't think of happening, I just think of random things. Like, I'm like, yo, what if the like wire from this elevator cut right now and it just started falling?
I'm terrified of elevators. So that's another thing. That gets me anxious too. Stepping inside an elevator, we better be only going like 1 or 2 floors. Because if we're going like 13, 20, 30... We've been in like hotels where we're on like lobby and we're on floor 30. Like 12 or something. And I'm like,
the New York hotel was insane. Oh my God.
We were up there, dude. We were on level like 40 almost just drive. Like it goes really fast. Yeah. But at the same time, it feels like forever to get up there because I just want to get off this elevator, but I'm not taking 40 flights of stairs to get to my room.
The Orlando one though? Because I always asked for the top floor, and that one was like glass, so you got to see how far.
Julian's the same way because he hates elevators, but then, like he said, he always asks for top floor hotels, so we have to travel, and it'll stop like 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, dude, like I'm about to get off and take the stairs. I want to exercise anyways.
I don't know why I do that. I like the view, but just, you know, the elevator.
The one in Orlando though was pretty cool because you could kind of distract yourself because it went up and you saw the whole hotel, but at the same time, the higher it went, you actually saw outside.
Which is why I wanted that one.
So you saw the parking lot, like just the scenery, which in Florida is beautiful. Coming from Connecticut, like it's beautiful to see palm trees. You don't see that every day.
We're referencing Playlist Live for those who don't know.
Like the highway or something. So it was really nice, but that was also a small elevator. So the more people that get in there, you feel
very tight.
Yourself get
And let's just talk about it. That was right before the pandemic broke out. So we were around all these people, giving all these creators hugs, high-fiving people, taking pictures with people.
A week later,
we're like
COVID
in
broke
quarantine.
out and everything was closed.
Yeah, literally. It was insane, man.
We had just beat it almost, like, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, and like that was nerve-wracking too. That caused a lot of anxiety because I was like, wait, and at the time I was living by myself. So I was like, wait, I just was in Orlando. I just flew. Like,
you're around all these people. You're on a plane. You're in a hotel. We actually stayed at an Airbnb.
Yeah.
For like
oh my goodness.
barely even a night because it was so bad. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But then we went to another hotel. So we were in like 2 or 3 hotels that weekend.
So
and next thing you know,
dude.
everything shut down because of COVID. Like,
yeah.
You're like, wait, just because it started now, we could have been, I don't want to say like infected because that's not the word, but we could have been around these people that didn't know it was so bad at the time. So like they could have had it without realizing they had it. Well, I feel like that's how it started.
But there were people, I don't know if you remember this, but at the airport, there were people with masks on. And we were like,
why are they wearing masks?
Like, oh, you're
crazy. It was so weird. And then
like,
next thing you know, we were like, oh, they're the smart ones.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We should have followed their lead.
And then literally we all had to wear it anyway.
But I feel like there weren't really tests to take at first. So people definitely had it without knowing they had it.
People in that hotel definitely had to have it.
But
definitely.
We
when you
had
think of
no
how many
idea.
people were at that party, people definitely had to have it.
Either that or they got it afterwards, but like I said, didn't know they got it. Because some people might not have hit them so hard, but other people I remember, like, they were like, dude, like, I can't get out of bed. Like, I can't do this.
My grandfather almost died from COVID. He was in the hospital. He almost died.
That's so crazy.
They said, like, they thought that he was gone. They was like, yeah, we had pretty much given up and was just letting it happen.
Yeah,
whatever
that's
happened.
so insane, though.
Yeah, he I don't know how he did it, but he did. He's here still. He's hanging out, chilling, and he talks about it too. He's so weird with that because like that stuff gets him excited,
That's so weird.
That's like, but that's his Christian side, like that stuff gets him excited. He's like,
but that just goes back to the whole like anxious thing. Like
that would make me so anxious, dude.
Freaking out like for him.
That would make me so anxious, like hearing that, because like, yo, like I just almost died, and he's just like, yo, like he brags like, yo, I almost died, man. I made it out of COVID. What's up?
That was back to where like they were saying you like really can't breathe.
Yeah,
like,
and that was his problem.
One of the side effects.
He had pneumonia.
So I feel like at that point. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like at that point, I would be freaking out and I'd be perfectly fine. But then all of a sudden be like, dude, I can't breathe. Or I'd be like,
that's
like making yourself almost breathe because you feel like you can't.
What you're describing right now is literally how I felt with my PTSD from my lung collapse. And there was a time where I sped up to the hospital. I almost got in like 3 car accidents.
Oh my God.
I pulled my car right in front of the emergency department's like roundabout. I jumped out, left it there. The security guard thought I was crazy because he had to move my car. Because my mom had worked at this hospital. So she called the head, said, yo, my son's coming there. He can't breathe. I was freaking out. I got there. I was like, they checked all my numbers. I was out of breath. They checked all my numbers. Everything was normal. They couldn't explain it. It was the craziest thing.
No.
But I drove up there.
That's so bad because half the time they send you home and they're like, we can't do anything.
There's
nothing
like,
going on.
They're like, well, we think you had an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And I did, because like I would get such bad anxiety attacks. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever really experienced this, but like sometimes if you can't breathe during your anxiety attacks, you start to hyperventilate and your fingers, your legs, they all go numb on you.
Oh my God.
My whole body like literally just went numb. And I thought, I was like, oh, this is it. I'm dying. I'm literally dying. So and honestly, at that time it was scary because I was like, yeah, I almost got into 3 car accidents, but honestly, being in a car accident would be better because I would just get to the hospital faster.
I mean, maybe because you still got to wait for them to get there. And half the time, like, it's not the easiest for them to get there.
Right. But that's what was going on in my head. And it was just like, either I get here to this hospital or I'm going to die anyway. And that's literally what my mind was saying,
It's so bad because I don't know what it was, but I would actually get chest pains really bad a lot that I'd go to the hospital and they'd be like, it's kind of like they put it in a rush because like I'd be there and like next they're calling me in. Meanwhile, someone who's been sitting there is still sitting there by the time I go in.
Yeah, they don't know what chest pains. Anytime you complain of that,
they were always like, you're way too young to be having chest pains. Like, why are you having chest pains? What's going on? And I'm like, dude, because sometimes I'll just be sitting there and it'll like come on where I'm just like, but it'll get to the point where I'll be like, dude, like this really hurts. Like if I'm going to the hospital, like I'm in pain. And the only thing they gave me was naproxen, which is basically just
anxiety medicine, right?
Not even. It's basically like a little bit stronger, I think, than like ibuprofen or something. So it didn't do anything for me. Like I'd take it because they'd be like, oh, if you feel it, like take this. And I'd be like, it's literally doing nothing. Mm-hmm. So I'd be like, I need something. Like I had actually thought I would have needed like something for anxiety because I was getting it so often, but I didn't know why. And like they would hook me up to the like EKGs and all this stuff and everything would be normal. They'd be watching it and everything would be fine. So then it happens again and I'm like, dude, like what's going on? That I got to the point where I'd be freaking out, but I wouldn't say anything because I'm like, dude, I'm going to go there and not going to do anything for me. So I'm like, I'm better off just sitting here going through it because that's what's going to happen.
That's how I got to.
But meanwhile, I'm like, dude, like I don't know why this is happening. So it's kind of freaking me out, which is probably making it worse. But that's why like when having having like almost like a acid reflux or heartburn, being pregnant, it freaked me out because it hurt so bad that I was like, dude, if this is chest pains, like I'm pregnant, like I can't take much. Yeah. Like at that point, you basically just have to sit and go through it. Like you Tums can't like candy. Yeah, I had Tums. My doctor actually gave me something for heartburn, which actually helped really well. But being pregnant, like you can't take a lot of things. Like I couldn't take Advil or ibuprofen. I had to take only like Tylenol, but it had to be the regular, not the extra strength. And I'm like, this is not going to do anything for me because it wasn't doing anything for me before, but this is all I can take. So you kind of just take it and pray it works. But then you're sitting there like freaking out because you're like, oh, is this going to go away? Is this bad? Should I be calling a doctor? Like, is this gonna, it's not even at that point, it's just on me, but like, is it affecting him? Like he's inside my belly. Is it bothering him? Is it not affecting him? Is it just me? But me stressing out could be affecting him. Yeah. So it starts to get really bad where you kind of have to talk yourself down and settle down almost.
I'll say this about medicine. Medicine scares me, just especially when you start talking about like anxiety medicine and things like that. Like I was giving Xanax for my PTSD.
Oh, really?
I took myself off of it. Like I took it once or twice. And literally when I say I think I used 2 out of the total pill jar, I think I only used 2. A, I didn't like it because it got me tired. And B, I didn't want to get hooked on it.
I would say those medicines get scary.
Yeah, so I didn't want to get myself hooked on it. So I just was like, nah, I'm good. I took 1 or 2 and nah.
I feel like I was never on a medicine like that was that powerful and had a lot of strength. But they did give me some type of, I don't know what exactly it was, some type of medicine basically for the pain from childbirth because I had a C-section. So they were like, that pain could get really bad. They gave me a prescription to go, like basically I can go and
fill it.
Yeah, I never did it. It's still sitting in my purse. Like I never got it filled. I was like, I don't want to take this because it's scary. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like part of me was not like, oh, you're going to get hooked on it, but like that goes through your mind. Yeah. Which is really scary because it happens to a lot of people. That's definitely one of the scariest things.
It does. I feel like we've been on anxiety forever at this point. I feel
I'm kind of over my points, so I'm just going based off of what you said on certain things.
There's so much that we could say about anxiety, man. It's scary. So like, I will say this, if you need help, like there's nothing wrong with seeking it out. Like there's so much now today where like there wasn't when I was experiencing it. Like BetterHelp wasn't a thing when I was going through it. I talked to, nothing against her, but I talked to this elderly lady and part of me didn't really feel comfortable talking with her because she knew my mom. Like obviously she wasn't going to tell my mom what we talked about due to HIPAA laws, but like I just didn't feel comfortable because I didn't feel like she understood where I was coming from because here she is with this beautiful house in Milford, beautiful poodle. Like she didn't understand like what I was talking about when I said I had to go pay the light bill at 10. You know, she didn't understand what I was talking about when I was like, yeah, someone, was killed last week and I had to go to their funeral with my grandfather. Like, she didn't get that stuff. Like, it's hard. But like, you could say like, you don't know if she did or not. I just didn't feel like she did. And again, it's just based on like her response to me in a sense. because like I talked a lot about money and how money scared me and stuff like that too. Whereas like, and that's a whole other subject I'm not gonna get into, but like she ended up just being like, all right, well, I'm gonna waive your copay. Cause like, you know, you're talking about you're stressed about money. I don't stress you out anymore. And honestly, like at that point, my mom was giving me this medical card. So like, I didn't care about copays because she had one of those like medical cards that like have like take money out of her check every week and she just uses that.
Yeah.
So I didn't really care about copays. I think at the time I really needed to feel understood. And I wasn't feeling that. So I kind of just stopped going. But find someone who understands you.
Some people don't unless they've gone through it.
Yeah.
Like they try to help you or try to understand, but unless you've actually gone through it sometimes, like you don't know.
Yeah, and again, she could have understood. She could have understood better than I think, but like
the way she was coming off.
Yeah, the way she was coming off, it didn't feel like she did. So I was just kind of like, all right, I'm not gonna go back. I think I had my fill. Like I'm not dying. I get it. I'm just being extra, literally. And then at that point, I just was like, all right, if anxiety attacks come, I'll just kind of calm myself down. It is what it is. But like I said, today, there's so much more help out there. There's literally people who like you answer a few questions and they find you the best person to help you. It's so crazy now.
There's people that you see now with, like I said, the world we're living in, there's COVID and all this stuff. There's things where you don't even have to leave your house.
That's what I'm saying. That's what better help is.
They make it so you're comfortable. Like they want you to like see someone that you're comfortable with, but now you're doing it in your home. So you're even more comfortable that all you have to do is flip open your laptop or turn your
FaceTime somebody.
Yeah, do that. Turn on your webcam, like something. It's something so easy so that when you're done, you literally are just like shutting your laptop or turning off your camera and you're going on with whatever you're doing at your house.
Literally don't be ashamed, man. Do not. There's nothing shameful about needing help, especially in the world we live in today with so many uncertainties. So many.
It's great because like I hear people that are like, yeah, like people try to encourage people to get a therapist, but like some people don't even encourage, but they'll talk about like their experience to make people feel comfortable. Like they're not like, oh, you should go see it. It's perfectly fine. It helps out stuff. They'll just like talk about their type of experience. So in a way you're like, it might not be for you, but you're kind of sitting there like, oh, like maybe it is a good thing or, oh, it's really working for them. Maybe it could work for me type of situation. So people make it where like they're kind of leading a way to get to you, but not fully being like, hey, like I go here, maybe you should see them or, oh, I talked to someone and it really helps. You should do the same. Cause then like it kind of hits people a little different. And they're like,
I'll tell you what helped me more than even having a therapist was having a coach. Changed everything for me.
Really?
When I found like the right coach who, again, I felt understood where I was going, what I was after, and coached me to where I needed to be, I felt like I just became unstoppable again. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's important to balance that unstoppableness with, you know, your spirituality.
Yeah.
And they completely understood that for me. And that was huge. And it just gave me kind of confidence in my body again and confidence in who I am. And really just kind of called me out on where I was, you know, doing what I shouldn't be or like really just.
But they do it in a way that's like.
And it's a way that's perfect for you.
Yeah,
because exactly. I'll tell you, there's certain approaches that work for some people that don't work for others. They literally looked me in my eyes. Well, didn't look me in my eyes, but basically told me, Julian, stop making excuses. You're making excuses right now.
And you're like, huh.
I am making excuses, you know what I mean? But that wouldn't work for everybody. Somebody might hear that and be like,
they'll get defensive, or they'll get.
I'm not making excuses.
They'll get defensive. Like, what do you mean I'm making excuses?
Yeah, no, literally, I was told like, Julian, you're making excuses. Stop making excuses. Get out there and just go do it. Stop making excuses.
For you, you'd be like,
who they were talking to.
Wait a minute, and it'll change. Like,
and maybe they didn't, and because that's another thing. Maybe they didn't know who they were talking to. Maybe they just kind of threw it out there,
they said the
lobbed
right thing.
It up there, and they said the right thing.
They actually still said the right thing.
Exactly, but that goes into another thing because that just kind of ties into spirituality. And when you're tied in properly with your spirituality, you kind of get other people's vibes very easily. That's why I tend to be a good judge of character because of that. I feel like, but that's a whole other subject. Anyway, we could talk about this literally all day, dude.
This is why I love the thought of podcasts, because this is my excuse to just say whatever I need to say about things, because sometimes people are like, I don't want to hear that, or they don't want to have as long as of a conversation, where like with this, like, that's what it's for. Yeah. Like, this is what you came, like, if you're still listening, like, this is what you came to listen to. Like, you didn't know where it was going to go, but at the same time, like, you were intrigued. Yeah, really. And honestly, you just get deeper insights to people you probably watch. Like, if you watch me and Alyssa on our reaction channel, you don't hear about these stories. Like, you wouldn't know where we grew up. There's a 0% chance you knew Alyssa was from Sandy Hook if you watched our reaction channel, because we literally have never said it in a video. There. You know, I feel like a podcast, it's definitely where, like, you definitely could go to get to know someone. Like, you definitely almost see them on a deeper level. Yeah. It humanizes, especially like the big creators. It humanizes them so much, dude. And that's one of the things early on for me. Person too. Yeah, that was one of the things early on for me. There was a big creator for me that really like humanized himself for me, and really like to this day we still talk, and it's awesome. So that's awesome. There's people like, we love that. Creators are people, man. They're all just people. Literally. Well, that's all I had. Unless we bring up another topic, we can probably keep going. But we got to ask them their question of the week if they're still here to answer. Don't worry. Like I said in the first one, we're going to try to kind of plan so we can let you know what we're getting into. Next week is definitely going to be into a lighter topic. Yeah. We'll kind of go back and forth. If you don't like hearing about these topics, hopefully we'll kind of warn you in the next one, or if you see the title. You don't have to click on it if it makes you uncomfortable, if you don't want to listen to. We don't want to force you to listen to us, especially if it's not your type of conversation, not your cup of tea. Next week, we kind of want to get into parenting life, because it is new for the both of us. We just had our first child. When the next week episode gets posted, it'll be the day after Father's Day, and it's going to be Julian's first Father's Day. So I thought that was perfect. That is. Good timing. That is good timing. We'll see how that weekend goes for him. We'll talk about our parenting lifestyle. Like I said, it's new for both of us. We'll talk about how it's been going for us. But to kind of, I don't want to go back into it. We're kind of having like I don't even know what to call it. So the question of the week that I had is, what's something you do to distract yourself? It can even go into, what do you do when you feel anxiety start to come on? If you feel your body start to work up and you want to kind of not kill it before it comes, but make yourself seem a little calmer. You don't want to get so worked up. I would also add to that, even if you don't feel like you experience anxiety, you just like to distract yourself with things. Like, what are some you do to distract yourself? Because, you know, even you don't realize this, but other people read the comments. So like maybe someone else sees what you do and they might be like, oh, I'm going to try that. Yeah. And you could be helping. You could be changing a life by just leaving a comment. So please definitely leave a comment. If something I do or say or whatever just either helps or contributes to one person, literally, I love it. Yeah, I agree. If someone was like, oh, this helped me so much, dude. One person out of the whole world, I'm still like, oh my God. 150%. If you tell me that something I said, like, changed your life, or you even if it didn't change your life, you just related to something I said, and you're like, wow, somebody else went through that, like, tell me, because I love that. That's literally why I go so deep and talk about this stuff on such a deep level, just to make you feel like you're not alone. Like, it's one of the best feelings. Yeah, actually. Heck yeah. Especially, like, if, like, for me, I'm saying if it's, like, I know I helped them in this type of way, but at the same time, you know, if you reverse it and you're like, oh, I'll try that. Oh, that helped me. Like, now you know someone that you can go to or watch, and it makes you feel better. Like, both sides, it's the greatest thing ever. I agree. Well, I'll go first in answering this then. I either like to listen to music. Music kind of changes the game sometimes. It kind of distracts your mind. You can have a little dance party for one by yourself. I don't know. Even if I go on drives, sometimes I like to go on drives to kind of clear my head. But like I said, if I'm by myself and like you start to have a little playlist going on, it ends up singing and dancing and all this fun stuff where you're like, oh, what was I even thinking about before I even got out here? So you go home on a much better mindset, emotional status, because if I left and I'm not mad, because I actually don't like to go on drives when I'm like super irritated, but you're kind of getting worked up, you go on, you come home, you're more mellow.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the ride you went on, you might be ready to go to bed. Because I like to go late at night, come home, and I'm like, I'm ready for sleep. Like, I could hit the bed and pass out right now. Like, that's so bad.
Yeah, I think...
Either that or I like to journal. If you journal a lot...
Journaling is good. Journaling is good.
I feel like it's very underrated, because you're like, wow, like, you didn't say anything, but journaling still gets it off your mind, so you're like, oh, I feel a lot better.
Quick shout out to Notion. I love Notion. Just saying. Anyway.
He got me on Notion, too.
Notion's dope. If you need to journal quick, use Notion. It's fire. It's
an app on your phone. If you don't know, you could literally just pull it out, take some quick notes. I know a lot of people probably use the Notes app to get in really quick. There's definitely stuff you could download on your phone that quickly can just pull out, type what you need to type, get it off your mind.
I'm trying to think. I use it mostly, though, like on my laptop's app. So, like, you could even, like, download it, like, in your Windows store or in your Mac store, Apple store, whatever, and you use it right there. That's what I use it on mostly.
I use it on my phone. I use it mostly for, like, YouTube ideas.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Go there really quick if I think of one, because if you know me, you know my memory's awful. So if I think of something and I'm like, oh, that could work really well. Even if I don't think it could work really well, I write it down to try to see if I could plan it out to make it happen or something. So I'll pull it up really quick. You can make little tabs so it's kind of organized so you know where to go if you quickly open it. If you want to have a little journal section, this is my video notes, so this is random notes, oh, this is, I need to remember to do this, or to-do list. Like, you just go into wherever you got to go, and like I said, get it off your brain. Just having it off your brain so you're not thinking about it helps so much. You really don't need to talk, as long as you're getting it out some way. Like, I'm telling you, it works so well.
I think I need to talk. I'm a talker. So, like, if something's bothering me, I'll just talk it out. Or I'll journal, like you said, but one of my biggest things, I kind of tend to be a workaholic. So, like, if I feel like something's going on, I'll be like, all right, I need to, like, live stream, or I need to create some content. I need to work on something. Because chances are, like, a lot of the times my anxiety is caused because I have so much, like, built up in my brain that I need to, like, relieve my brain and get some of this stuff done. But that's just me.
That's why I tend to tell Julian to just have a journal to write just random stuff down, because he just needs to get it off his brain sometimes. And I'm telling you, it can help a little bit. So I'm like, just
get it out.
Because sometimes he'll be like, I can't sleep because it's on his mind. And I'm like, you need to sleep. So if you just need to jot it down so it gets off your brain and not just resting there, basically keeping you awake, just do it really quick. But
I think that's it for this deep episode.
We're sorry. Second one in. We already hit some solid points. Like I said, next week it'll definitely be a lighter topic. So
deep and long. I'm so sorry. But this, like I said, we could talk about this literally all day long. All day. All right, guys. If you enjoyed this, you know what to do, man. 5-star reviews. Like the video. Subscribe to our podcast channel if you're on YouTube right now. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you're listening to. We're trying very hard to get to 50 listeners at least right now. So, like, the more listeners, the better on any of your podcast apps. So, yeah, definitely spread the word. And if this helped you, man, please, like, let us know. Let us know.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
We're out of here, guys. Keep grinding. Keep chasing your dreams. Remember, nothing worth having comes easy. We out. Peace.